What's going on, guys? So last week I worked on my bow animation to have the player equip a bow and shoot it, but there's no arrows or anything like that. This week I added the actual shooting of the arrows. I made an arrow in Blender and made these targets that can be hit by a rigid body. And when the target is hit by the arrow, it will freeze the rigid body in place. So first off, when you equip the bow, something else I added, it changes the camera view when you when you unequip the bow down here. It changes the camera back to normal. Okay, so equip the bow, and now I also made it so when you have the bow equipped, it's going to change the rotation. It's going to make it a little bit slower when you're actually firing. So let's see how it works. So pull back. I have a little crosshair there, and it's actually working actually a lot better than I thought it was. I made the collisions dynamic continuous, or continuous dynamic, because they were shooting right through the target before I did that. And you can see when you so this is the normal rotation speed of the player and movement speed, but when the player starts to shoot, I make it a little bit slower so it's easier to aim. And this is just tweaks upon tweaks as I went. One other cool thing I did was based on the percentage of the how far back the player pulls, like how far the animation is. This is going to be full power. This is going to be like a little slower, and then if you just do anything, it's just going to drop because there's no power. So I'll tweak that as well, but I just wanted to make it's pretty cool. You could see like the player pulls it all the way back, it's full speed, and if it just does it like partial, it just falls. You could definitely see the difference. That's full speed, slow speed. And that's all working. So this was a little tricky because it took me like 6 or 7 hours because I froze the animation or the animator when it gets to this point, so it doesn't keep looping the animation. I couldn't find another way to do it, so that's how it's working right now, but it was driving me crazy because I was disabling the animation, and then when you clicked on the actual mouse to shoot it, it would only work sometimes. And that's because the animator is actually disabled at certain points. Okay, so we're about 3 minutes into this. This took a while to do, so I'm just going over the basics. If you want a more detailed tutorial of how I actually was able to do this, let me know, but let me just go into the scripts real quick just to show. Okay. So to start off, we have this bow combat script. And Dungeon Ward. I know this is a lot of game object find. I'm gonna have to tweak that as I go, but I wanted to mimic this as the like the sword combat and the other scripts I have to be able to. I could always just copy and paste all this information into another script, or just get these other means than game object find. So pretty much when the bow is equipped, this script is actually on the bow. So the bow combat, and then on the void update, I have a few things here where is drawn, arrow speed, anim time. So anim time is something I found out just by Googling. And so anim time. So where do I actually, here it goes. So in void update, this is the anim time is pretty much getting the animator state info of when the bow is drawn. So it shows like how far into the animation, from like 0 to 1. Is it pulled back or is it like medium? So if it's like 0.9, it's going to be almost all the way fully pulled back. That's why the arrow speed is going to be more. If it's greater than 0.3, it's going to be a little bit slower, and then otherwise it's going to be 0 for speed. So I had to split up the animations from the full bow shoot into player draw bow and player release bow. So when the player draws bow, it's going to pull it back up into her certain normalized time of the state, animator state, and that's going to determine the speed. So it's pretty much like how much tension you have in the bow. That's kind of how I wanted to mimic it. And when the player lets go of the mouse, get key up, and if the bow is drawn, it's going to release the bow. The arrow speed is going to be determined by the where the animator was when the bow was drawn, or how far into the animation. It's going to instantiate the projectile with a new script I made called Projectile Manager, and it's going to shoot the arrow in the direction of the player, and it's going to have the rotation of the player, because it was kind of spinning out of control. It was going like 90 degrees or like 45 degrees. It was just all messed up, so I had to do that. And the speed of the projectile is going to be determined by how far the player pulls the bow back. So on the projectile instantiation on update, it's going to go in the direction that it was assigned and the speed it was assigned. If the speed is greater than 0 and there's actually a direction other than 0, vector 3, 0, it's going to be propelled in a certain direction at a certain speed. And on collision enter, I just made this for now. I'm going to have to tweak it for all the different colliders it could hit in the game, but I just wanted to make sure that it worked with this. If the objects that it hits name is prefab archery target, it's going to make direction is 0, and it's going to freeze the rigid body. So I won't go into too much more unless you guys want like a detailed tutorial, but I did a lot of other stuff to make that work with the player movement and the camera follow to change the camera mode. But that's it. I'm pretty happy with my results. Eventually, probably in the next couple of weeks, I want to make it so the bow fires in the position of the mouse. Right now it's just firing in the direction of the player, so you can't really shoot up or down. That's necessary. I don't think it should be too difficult to do. I think it's like screen to world point or something like that I could use based on the input of the mouse position. But in any case, next week is actually my 3 years of when I started to learn to program. So I'm going to put together some kind of progress video and maybe like 10 things that I learned that were critical to my learning process and what I wish I knew and did early on. One of them is definitely going to be organization, because this has helped me so much just planning out, and it saves me a lot of headache when I go and plan something, because I think about everything ahead of time, and I'm not blindsided by something and then I'm trying to figure out, I have to revamp this whole system because I forgot about this one thing. But in any case, I'm actually really, really happy that I was able to do this. This is really cool. And the player animation is going to be determined by the player speed, so we'll be able to bring that bow back faster, and then the physical damage is going to be based on the physical attack power of the player, which will be determined by the attribute strength, and also the speed will help because you'll be able to shoot the arrows at max tension or max power. Now I want to make it so you could shoot the tree. Right now it's not set up to collide with the tree, but it just bounces off it because it doesn't know what to do. Oh no, the cow. Okay, well that's it. Thanks for watching.